Do you have a Bible story or a Bible verse that every time you read it, every time you hear it, it just gives you the goosebumps? For me, this is in the book of Exodus. When Moses is approaching the burning bush, he hears the voice of the Lord say to him, "Stop, remove your sandals." Why? For you are standing on holy ground. Man, there's just something about the recognition of God's holy presence among us. It just gives me goosebumps. You know what I'm saying? Now, this stems from the practice where the Jews would remove their sandals before entering the parts of the temple that they could go into. There's a couple of ideas of why they did this. One is maybe there's a practical application, right? Where they're leaving the grime of the world outside of God's most holy dwelling place. But there's another idea too. And just as the slaves in that day and age would walk around barefoot, that so too would they walk barefoot in as a symbol of submission to God in his holy dwelling place. Now we know for you and I that it looks a little bit different nowadays. We know God doesn't reside in the temple, in a building. He doesn't reside in the church. We are the holy temple. He resides in us and works through us. But there's still ways that we practice our acknowledgement of God's holiness in our lives. There's still ways that we practice having a reverence for who God is. You know, you can see I'm wearing my KC swag today. Gentlemen, when we walk into the church, we take our hats off. When we go into the sanctuary, when we pray, we take our hats off. Why? It's out of respect for who God is. Maybe for some of us, we dress in our Sunday best, as the saying goes. And it's just a way that we can practice the reverence that we have for God. See, in today's day and age, I think we practice really well the personal part of our faith. We know and understand that God is personal and he is a friend. And that is so true. And we rightfully practice that. And we do it well. But sometimes I almost wonder, have we diminished the part of our faith where God is someone who deserves our respect and our submission and our awe and wonder? See, the Bible calls that the fear of God. And the fear of God is simply this. To have a fear of God, it's that we have a deep respect and an awe and a submission to who God is and who he wants us to be. See, Hebrews says it this way. Let me read this to you real quick. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 28 says this: "Since we are receiving a kingdom that is unshakable, let us be thankful and please God by how? Worshiping him with holy fear and awe." Church, my question to you today is this: how can you take off your shoes, so to speak, in recognition of God's holy presence in your life? How, in the midst of a global pandemic, because the truth is that if you're like me or most people, the ways in which we practice our reverence to God might be a little bit disrupted, how we physically do these things. How can you practice in a global pandemic our reverence, fear, and total submission to God and who he is? I love you, church. I'm praying for you. God bless.